The amount of rumors of Apple's iPhone Ultra just spiked as clearly case makers and leakers are preparing for it. Now, what if Samsung's rumors of the fourth Galaxy S were just ahead of their time when we thought we were getting it this year? Apple might follow a known strategy for its next batch of iPhones, and that even includes a phone we didn't think we were getting. And yes, Samsung's Galaxy Z Wide Fold just got even more interesting once you look at how it's supposed to work according to software. I'm Jaime Rivera, and it's about that time for these 4 interesting topics. This is TechBriefing powered by MediaTek. Let's begin today with Samsung, as clearly strategies continue shifting over in Korea. So, remember those rumors of the company working on a Pro Galaxy variant, which was later ditched over pricing strategies to match the iPhone at last minute? Well, a new report suggests that it actually is still happening, but just not in the timing that we first thought. It seems the company is planning to shake up its flagship lineup with the Galaxy S27 series by introducing the 4th model, the Galaxy S27 Pro. Yeah, this means the regular Plus and Ultra remain, with the Pro doing what the Edge probably didn't do. The Pro model is expected to sit close to the top tier, potentially sharing many features with the Ultra while offering a slightly different experience, and by slightly different, I'm hoping that means smaller. Actually, according to the leak, this Pro model will borrow more from the Ultra than from the base models, with new essentials like privacy display being one of the features we're getting. That being said, if you thought that meant we were getting a smaller Ultra, as in the smaller Galaxy Note 10 that launched along with the Plus, well, hold it right there. The report claims that the key difference between the Pro and the Ultra is the lack of an S Pen, which, yeah, is a total bummer. I mean, chips have gotten so efficient that it's not a battery problem, though if they were trying to make a super thin device, well, that kind of makes sense. Still, wouldn't it be great if you could buy an S Pen separately for this phone? Let me know if this Pro model makes sense to you in the comments. And speaking of Samsung, how about if we continue talking about its foldable plans? New leaks suggest that the company is seriously exploring a wider foldable design with the Samsung Galaxy Z Wide Fold, whatever the name is going to be, aiming to improve usability without adding extra hinges like in the case of the Trifold. Evidence comes from an early One UI 9 firmware update where screenshots show a noticeable wider interface, likely based on a 4:3 aspect ratio. And you might think the current 5:6 doesn't sound like much of a difference, but trust me, it's kind of a major change when you consider the current design is built to be more vertical than horizontal, and the Wide Fold is doing the complete opposite. It's a big shift from a more square-like approach we have now, helping the new Wide Fold feel more like a small tablet if you do the math. Now, physically, the Wide Fold is expected to be shorter but significantly wider than upcoming models like the Z Fold 8, which we hear is still being planned, putting it in the same category as the Pixel Fold first generation and the Oppo Find N series for generation 1 and 2 that remained in China. This sort of wide approach could make the phone easier to hold and use daily, especially one-handed when closed, while also improving multitasking and content viewing when open. But then yes, I know what you're thinking. What's the catch? Well, the trade-off is not all applications are optimized for this aspect ratio, which could lead to scaling issues. Think of Instagram as being the most notorious example for not playing natively well on foldables like this. We've had so many issues in the past with the previous ones that had this aspect ratio. That said, overall, Samsung seems to be experimenting with the form factor rather than complexity. I actually do prefer this idea over the Z Fold 7, but I am curious to know what you would like to see in the comments. Now, as for what to expect with Apple's next iPhones, let's just say that at least half the theme is going to be a bit about predictability. Apple is known for holding on to designs for at least 2 generations before moving to new visuals, and that might be the case this year. New leaks suggest that Apple is taking a conservative approach with the iPhone 18, as the base model is expected to look almost identical to its predecessor. Aside from a very minor tweak in its dimensions, which we're trying to confirm, the overall look of the phone and its 6.3-inch display should remain unchanged, meaning most users won't notice any difference in daily use aside from probably new color options. Key visual changes are rumored mostly for the Pro models, at least in the rumored dynamic island that becomes smaller, a more efficient LTPO Plus display, and the usual changes in color options, with a possible red being rumored, though no word on a black option, even if some April Fool's jokes said otherwise. Yes, the variable aperture in the camera continues to be rumored by various sources, so consider that most likely happening. I think the biggest paradox is going to be the iPhone Air 2, as the launch timing continues to find conflicting rumors. Some sources claimed it wouldn't launch until early 2027 in order to buy Apple more time to put a second camera on the thin design. Now we have new reports claiming that it'll be launching in the fall this year along with the Pro and base models, though the catch is that you shouldn't expect much of a change. Key improvements are mainly focused on the new chip and some possible internal efficiencies, along with whatever Apple's new modem might be, but yeah, no extra camera. That being said, if Apple does follow this route, it would validate the assumptions of many of us that the Air actually sold better than rumors put it out to be, and which I've noticed in just the amount of people that I see on the streets using it today. Let me know if this strategy makes sense to you in the comments. Now, before we get to the hottest news, let me tell you about today's sponsor, MediaTek. I'm not sure if you saw some of the recent photos I posted with the Oppo Find X9 Pro and its Hasselblad teleconverter, but yeah, they're some of the best photos I've taken from any phone, and don't even get me started about its video capabilities. A lot of the legwork comes thanks to MediaTek's new Dimensity 9500. This is the company's third generation all-big core architecture, which enables some of the best performance you'll see for any flagship. Now with AI enhancements and its 5G connectivity, Wi-Fi 7, gaming, and which include photos and video from its new Imagic 1190 ISP. It's the reason companies like Oppo trust MediaTek with its best experiences. Thanks to MediaTek for sponsoring this video. And finally, for the hottest news today, let's talk about Apple's foldable plans, as man, they've gotten intense, so grab some popcorn. We started the week with rumors that the foldable iPhone was delayed, and we have even heard that it might get pushed to being launched until the end of the year, even if it gets announced in September. But today that got contradicted. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman claims that development on the device reportedly is progressing smoothly, with a launch happening in the standard time frame of the other Pro iPhones, meaning the typical September event. Yes, he did use the word around to call the time frame, so maybe not a simultaneous launch, but yes, an announcement, or probably close. We'll see. While Apple hasn't started mass production yet, according to sources, the iPhone Fold is reportedly in engineering verification phase, with trial production also rumored to have already begun at Foxconn. Production challenges could limit initial supply, but no major launch delays are expected. According to Gurman and Alice Mingshi, quote, things are working just fine. Where things got even more interesting is in the recent leaks of the first dummy models, which is usually what case makers do to get prepared for what's to come. And yeah, it looks like no iPhone we've ever seen before. See, unlike the iPhone 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max, which show only minor changes in these dummies, the iPhone Fold adopts a passport-style form factor with a wider, shorter design and a 4x3 inner display similar to the iPad. The rear appears to be fully glass with a camera module that doesn't span the full width, and the device will be extremely thin at around 4.5 millimeters when open. These dummies also suggest Apple will use Touch ID instead of Face ID, and apparently the Fold is designed to nearly make the crease invisible, though listen, it's hard to predict these things from dummy units. Regardless, it's clear that Apple is way in deep with this design, so we're clearly getting a foldable iPhone finally. That being said, one controversial speculation is that, well, we don't see the usual magnet ring on the Fold as we see on the Pro and Pro Max in these dummies, so I'm wondering if version 1 of this phone will also be lacking in features, and that means MagSafe as we saw with the 16E, and we later got it with the 17E. I seriously hope that is not the case, but we'll see. And lastly, yes, call this the iPhone Ultra. We continue to hear sources claiming the name is pretty much set in stone at this point, though I find that kind of early. In today's question, let me know, which iPhone are you expecting most for 2026? Because in my case, yes, of course I want the iPhone Ultra, but I also wanted to support the Apple Pencil. I am hoping that's the case. I'm curious to know what you would like to see in the comments. Friends, thank you so much for joining on this new episode of Tech Briefing. Please like, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments, as I'm sure you've seen me try to respond to as many as I can. Also, follow me on social medias. More behind-the-scenes testing is happening there. We have so many product unboxings ready. There's a lot of stuff that's coming, so stay tuned. Guys, also, our Technically There podcast with Josh is returning very soon, so stay tuned for that as well. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. See you on the next one.